Okay, everyone, this is Carrie Ann, consultant with Catalyst, and today we have Nick Singer with PathwayPort here. He is their Chief Technology Officer, right?
That's right.
Yeah, cool. So super excited to have you here. This is all about you and all about PathwayPort, and we just want to sip our coffee and learn about PathwayPort. But first, if you'll tell us how you got here. Tell us about your path and your career and what got PathwayPort started.
Right. So happy to be here. Thank you for setting this up. And just for the record, you had me at coffee when I heard that we were doing a coffee chat. So
Awesome.
yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah. So for myself personally, as I got out of college, got a tech degree, basically started freelancing, and very quickly bumped into Alec, who's our CEO and co-founder.
Okay.
So we started working on a couple of projects. Eventually, we landed on building an email marketing tool, a general email marketing tool, so not Pathway yet. Uh, and we were working on that for a couple of years. It wasn't going great because the ma market was super saturated. There was like 300 tools doing the same thing at one point.
Oh,
So yeah, they all sort of trimmed down now, but it was pretty crazy back then. And then we got the idea of, let's do this for insurance, as we had a bunch of broker users on our platform, and we had some, knowledge about that.
mhm.
We sort of spun that off, and it just took off. Because this was 10 years ago, there wasn't really anything like what we did on the market, or I would say the insurance market was used to working on software that just looks like Excel from the 90s.
Yeah,
Uh,
very
so
true.
yeah, so it was basically Alec being a designer in his previous life. He had a huge emphasis on user experience and UI, and that sort of set us apart initially. And then from there, it was just, listening to our users and building upon PathwayPort.
Very, very cool. Awesome. Well, good. Well, I know that, well, this is what I think I know. Let me tell you this. And then you just fill in all the gaps. I
Mhm.
with when I think about PathwayPort, I'm thinking about marketing automation, a client communication in an automated way so that the agency is spending less time on following up and kicking out emails, including possibly renewal business, not just marketing for new business. But I'm thinking that this is a great way to uh, communicate with an agency's clientele. We encourage them often to communicate with their clients um, on the insurance marketplace and coverage examples and just really just keeping that education going, right? And so I think that this is something PathwayPort can accomplish. So can you talk to us about that?
For sure. So yeah, while we did start with the marketing side of things, the marketing automation piece, we very quickly learned that the gap was actually on the transactional side. So
Okay.
renewals, billing reminders, and things like that. And not only that, it was about automating just the data flow between the tools you're using. So brokers, again, very much used to exporting a list, getting a report, waiting for somebody to get them the report first,
Right.
dropping it into another tool, and then sending a blast. And then doing that like once a week if they're trying to like keep up with renewals.
Hmm.
So that was the first problem we saw. Like day one, we worked on integrating with the BMS. So that we would get a consistent data feed every day, getting data into PathwayPort, and also being able to push data back into the BMS because we do believe that the BMS, we can't replace it. We don't want to
Hmm.
do that side of the pond. Basically, let the BMS be the source of truth. We get data out of there. The broker still does their day-to-day there. They get a log of what Pathway did on their behalf, and life goes on. And also, somewhere along the way, on that transactional piece was document delivery, right? So we've seen a big push to big push for digital. in terms of documents. So nobody, or I should say, everybody's trying to get away from physically mailing documents. So Pathway came in here as well, just syncing the documents straight from the BMS and then using rules that brokers were already setting up in their system, like the
Hmm.
categories of documents, the types,
Right.
the abeyances, activities, whatever the system is, and then using those to trigger from Pathway. That was one of the
Wow.
bigger sort of milestones we had.
Yeah, that's huge. Huge.
Yeah. And
Fantastic.
and since we started in Canada, another sort of big piece was pink slips, proofs of insurance for when you're driving. That was also, something you would print out, mail out to your customer,
Hmm.
and then it might even get expired. They might have an invalid one on them for a while. But we basically made it with push notifications, with automatic updates. You get them on your phone, get it automatically updated if something changes, get it canceled if it cancels, if it expires, and then also give them a quick way to get access to a new one. I
Very
think
cool.
yeah, so the marketing automation is our main tagline. Like if you go to our website, that is the
Okay.
quickest way we figured out to present ourselves.
Hmm.
But what we ended up doing was sort of spreading out and doing a lot of things. So it's the marketing automation, it's transactional emails, which include like billing reminders, document delivery, pink slips. And then we also built a self-service portal. So basic brokers can very quickly have a branded mobile app sort of thing
Very
to present
nice.
to their customers. Uh, and we just kept going. So a lot of new things on the horizon, and
I bet.
we'll touch on those as well.
Very cool. Man, that's great. And so, am I correct in my thinking that you had, with your integration with an agency's management system, did it begin with the Sajita and then take off from there with other integrations? Is that right?
We actually started with Power Broker because we started in Canada. And in Canada, we
Okay.
also, and from there it went, SIG, TAN, Epic, TBW. We actually
Wow.
entered the US market somewhat later. And so Sajida did happen later, sort of on that list. But the goal was always, get integrated with all of them,
Hmm.
and anyone that would work with us, basically, because that was a big selling point. Like we were never trying to sell Pathway something is, hey, you can upload your list here, because nobody's doing that. Nobody wants to assign somebody to have to do that because people going on vacation, data gets, stale. People out accidentally send out renewal reminders for a canceled policy. They send emails to people that unsubscribed, etc. When that's managed automatically, there's so much less headaches.
Oh, for sure. And so much cleaner.
Oh, for sure.
Wow. Wow. So talk about, you mentioned how quickly you're evolving to solve pain points for insurance agency agents and brokers. So what can we see in the future, do you think?
Right. So if I gave you three guesses, one of them would have been AI, probably.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it is AI. So spoiler alert. But we're not trying to replace something else that the broker might be using. Everybody's getting on board
Hmm.
with enterprise solutions for AI. We're building AI connectors on our system. So
Okay.
you'll be able to plug Pathway into your Claude, into your ChatGPT. You'll be able to tell it, hey, what have I sent this customer through Pathway in the past couple of months? And it goes in and just gets that data for you. You don't even log into Pathway at that point. And then
Beautiful.
that's going to be version one. Sometime after that, it'll be okay, build me this campaign in Pathway. So that'll be future variation of that. And that does a couple of things. For one, it opens us up to LLM users, and another, it reduces the effort required to get a campaign going. We
Okay.
already have an AI project deep in testing for using AI to create segments of customers. So and this will be out in probably in a month. You'll be able to ask Pathway, okay, create me a segment for all of my auto clients that don't have home and that they have a premium of above 1,000, things like that. So basically, just
Right.
set this up for me, and it'll spit out the segment for you, and you can then go ahead and tweak it. You can then target with everything else that we have, and this is like premium increases, specific activity codes. Do they have this coverage? Do they not? So basically, just leverage everything we currently have,
Hmm.
and let AI help you speed that up.
Yeah. Boy, that's fantastic. That's a lifesaver, really. Over the last many years, it's been quite difficult to extract that level of data first out of the agency management system and then be able to really slice and dice it and figure out what the next call to action is for the agency from a marketing perspective. And cross selling is always, even still to this day, something that that independent agencies, and when I was on the agency side, we just weren't doing enough of it. It would
Yeah.
fall through the cracks, and being able to extract that information, get it to a conclusion so that decisions can be made and then action can be taken to target a specific segment, as you said. And so then the sky's really the limit on what the agency can do based on what their vision is and their strategic plan. That's so
E-
cool.
Exactly. And so the filtering, the segmenting, or the targeting is really our crown jewel, because we have brokers from various systems that come up and tell us that, can you get this report out? I can't get it out of my BMS. And we can. So we can get you a list of all auto policies in a specific state that have a vehicle with a specific driver class and an age below 10 years.
Beautiful.
So something like that usually you'd have to go through like three people, get a report, and by the time you got it, it's already a bit stale.
Right. A
So
lot of
with
that data, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you just made me think of it so
Mhm.
much that would trigger opportunities on an existing client is embedded fairly deep into policy detail. And so it's layered, right? Where it
Yeah,
lives takes some time and work to get to that. One example I think of often is personal lines where we write maybe their home and their auto, but we need to be offering an umbrella. And perhaps the first target would be any of those that one have homeowners liability limits that meet a certain level for umbrella underlying requirements. And then secondly, what exposures do they have? For example, do they have a swimming pool? Those types
exactly.
of things. But that level of data is been so difficult to get to, which is why like the agent and brokers have said to you, I cannot get this out of my system. Help me. So
Exactly. And being able to get it automatically where you just set up this campaign and then it runs. You don't
yeah,
have to go in every day, trigger it, upload a list, it just goes. And another huge piece was the two-way sync, the ability to write back into the BMS or the AMS. So whatever the system supports, it's either an activity, an abeyance, a log, or a note, something along those lines.
right.
Um, what we learned, and this is something that we didn't expect. So we were always, our KPI was, how many automated email campaigns you have active. Eventually we added like additional actions to the system where you can create an activity back in the BMS or a note, or if the system doesn't support that, the integration doesn't support that, then you can create an email alert for your staff member. So it would go, for example, a very typical one for a new client, a new broker on our system would be, this is an important transactional email. So let's first check if they have a valid email address. If they do, great. Send them the reminder, send them the note.
Mhm.
If they don't, send an internal note to the assigned client handler telling them that this person doesn't have an email address or a valid email address on file. And you can do this even, after the email was sent and it bounced, so you can
Very
send
nice.
that as a note. And what ended up happening, so beyond that, was we actually had brokers that use this functionality to create workflows in Pathway that don't have an email step at all. They just go in and create activities back in their system in mass. So they want to do cross-sell, but they don't want to do it via Pathway. They want to do phone calls. So they create a cross-sell or an upsell segment that triggers X days before that target renewal date. And instead of doing anything with an email or an SMS in Pathway, which you can also do, they create an activity back in their system with custom instructions for their broker. So and so has this, but doesn't have this. This is their phone number. Give them a call. Uh,
Wow.
so again, in Pathway, and this is, I think, also important if you have a team of 5, 10, 20 brokers, you don't want to have
Mhm.
to train everyone on a new tool. Like eventually you're going to get eye rolls day one when they hear that you have a
Of
new
course.
tool.
Mm.
But if you have a dedicated marketing person or a dedicated person for Pathway, you have one person managing Pathway, setting up the workflows, everyone else keeps up their day-to-day back in their system. So all
Nice.
they need to know, hey, we're sending these renewal reminders on your behalf. If there's a problem, you'll get an activity. If they complete a survey, you'll get an activity with the results. And everything else, basically, they just keep doing their day-to-day in the
Right.
BMS. Yeah,
Yes, because I mean that their day to day involves those, whether it's an activity or a log or what have you, and that's very familiar to them, and so it just becomes part of the account, typical and normal activity, and doesn't cause a shift into learning new technology and doing things much different than they ever did before. Sounds like it's just giving them more information at their fingertips so that it's flowing seamlessly, but we're
exactly.
accomplishing so much more. I love
Exactly.
it. That's awesome.
Great.
Well, before we wrap up here in a few minutes, I was
Mhm.
thinking earlier about, what insurance agent do you feel like would be the best fit for PathwayPort? What does that look like?
Right. Right. So we started with small to medium, mostly around the medium sort of
Okay.
size. So an insurance agent that has 5 to 10 to 15 staff, and they're getting overwhelmed. They're not keeping up with the renewals, with their reminders, the
Yeah.
billing notices and things like that. So they're losing revenue on just, NSFs and things like that. They were always our bread and butter. In the past couple of years, we had a big shift towards better supporting enterprise brokers. And I don't need to name names. All I'm going to say is if you Google top 10 insurance brokers in North
Hmm.
America, seven of
Hmm.
them are probably using Pathway. So we had a big push to support huge organizations with dynamic branding, uh, granular permission management, and everything else that comes with that for, somebody that has high expectations of security, reliability, and just permission management, things like that. So I would say, while we started sort of on the small to medium end, we're now at a point where it's leaning towards enterprise, just because of, all of the M&A happening.
Sure.
But anyone who's just not keeping up with stuff that really should be automated. But,
Wow. Boy, that's fast. And that's exciting. That's exciting. Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know one individual working in an insurance agency. I know a lot, but I don't know one working in an agency today that isn't still, despite the technology that's in place, that is, I don't know one that's not still desperate to solve pain points that we would have thought could have been solved and maybe should have been solved a very long time ago. And so that need is so prevalent and is out there, and there's so many opportunities to solve and help streamline the flow of the interagency right? The internal functions so they can focus on what they should be doing, client retention, new business sales, cross-selling, and quite frankly, doing that fantastic job of being an insurance advisor for their clients. So I think this is huge. I know I've learned a ton. And lastly, I think I'll just ask you, is there anything else that we haven't talked about in our few minutes together that you want those that are joining us to hear about PathwayPort?
Yeah, so I do want to add, so there's so much talk about productivity gains with AI in particular, and
Mm,
people being worried about their jobs and things like that.
true.
Like we were talking about the productivity gains, like 8 years ago. And it was always about, and I think it's the same for AI, by the way. It was always about not replacing people, it's about freeing them up to do high value work. So
Yes.
Pathways, automating all of this stuff, sending the emails that you were going to send regardless,
Mhm.
and then it's letting you, deal with the actual questions of the client, getting on that phone call and then making sure they get the best service and also, helping you not lose sleep over E&O and things like that. So
Right.
it's never about, I know somebody might, balk at, oh, we don't want to do bulk communication. We don't want to sound generic.
Mhm.
Uh, and with all the customization with the tools, with Pathway, with the coverage advisor functionality we have and everything else, it's not going to sound, it's not going to look generic. It is going to look good. But
Okay.
ultimately, the end goal is it's not here to replace what you're saying. It's here to free you up so that you can go in and have that relationship with your customers, have time for that relationship.
Yeah. Perfect. Which is, yes, always the ultimate goal. And yet it's taken us so long to get to this point. So, wow, super grateful to know PathwayPort, to get to know you today. For those of us, or sorry, those of you that have joined us today, remember to go to Cala.com, go to our website. You can find information about PathwayPort. You can request a demonstration, and there's contact information there to get in touch with Nick and his awesome crew at PathwayPort. So, with that, Nick, I think it's a wrap.
Great. Thank you, Carrie. It was a
All
pleasure.
right. Great to talk to you. Have a good one. Thanks. Bye.
You too. Bye.